Good morning and welcome. As you take your seats, we are pleased to welcome you to Mayor J. William Reynolds' 2026 State of the City Address. On behalf of the Bethlehem Chamber of Commerce, thank you for joining us alongside so many business and community leaders from across our region. Today's event is made possible by a record level of sponsor support, a true reflection of the business community's commitment to Bethlehem's continued growth. At this time, we'd like to recognize the organizations who made today possible. Let's begin by recognizing our platinum sponsors for their exceptional leadership and investment. Alloy 5 Architecture, thank you Randy, Mike, and Becca for your creativity and continued commitment to our community. Capital Blue Cross, thank you to Vicky and your team for your unwavering partnership and support. RKL Advisors, thank you to Greg, Kyle, and Nicole for your continued engagement and support. And next, let's thank our gold sponsors. Thank you for the vital role you play in supporting this event and our broader mission. To Air Products, thank you Laurie and your team for your leadership and impact across our region. Civic Property Management, thank you to John and Shauna for your continued investment in our community. JG Petrucci, thank you to Jim and Tom for your unending support. Lehigh University, thank you to Joseph, Tracy, and Adrian for your partnership and collaboration. Lehigh Valley Health Network, part of Jefferson Health, thank you to Rich, Bob, and Kevin for your continued support and commitment to Bethlehem. Next, we recognize our silver sponsors. Thank you for your meaningful contributions and continued engagement. Let's thank the Bethlehem Parking Authority, BSI Corporate Benefits, Comcast, Just Born Quality Confections, Kingsbury Attorneys and Counselors, Lehigh Valley International Airport, Pinoni Associates Inc., PPL Electric Utilities, Servpro Team Davis, St. Luke's University Health Network, Shorefix Remodeling LLC, and Working Dog Press. We'd also like to thank our bronze sponsors for their support: East Stroudsburg University, First Commonwealth Federal Credit Union, HRG, High Hotels, Highmark Blue Shield, Lehigh Valley Community Foundation, TCH Development, Univest Bank and Trust Co., the Whiting Turner Construction Company, and Wing Creek Bethlehem. And to our supporting sponsors, thank you for your valued support: Agentis Plumbing, Blue Zones Project, Buckno Lisicki and Company, CHA Consulting Inc., Dream Boyd Theater, Edge Restaurant, Gross McKinley, Penn Community Bank, Penrose, Service Electric Business, Spillman Farmer Architects, and TWG Security. Thank you to our photography sponsor, Mike Robinson Productions, for capturing today's event. We'd also like to recognize our community partners. Lehigh Valley with Love, thank you for your continued storytelling and support of our community. And to the City of Bethlehem, thank you for your partnership and leadership. Finally, to ArtsQuest, thank you Cassie, Jennifer, and your entire team for your unending support for the State of the City Address. Let's hear it for all of today's sponsors for their continued support of this event and for our community.
Guests, please welcome the Freedom High School and Liberty High School Grenadier Marching Bands. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Senior Vice President of Bethlehem Initiatives for the Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce, Tammy Wendling.
Wow. Gonna need a bigger boat, Mayor. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. On behalf of the Bethlehem Chamber of Commerce, welcome to J. William Reynolds' 2026 State of the City Address. Let's start by giving a big thank you to the Freedom High School Marching Band led by Mr. Michael Moran and the Liberty High School Grenadier Marching Band led by Mr. Alan Frank. Let's keep the applause going for today's sponsors and all of our partners. This does not happen without all of you, and today we have a record number of sponsors and attendants in the room with us. We are so grateful for your support. Let's hear it. And a huge heartfelt thank you to the Bethlehem Chamber board members who volunteered very early this morning, and to the Bethlehem team, Jess, Ty, and Evelyn, for bringing the energy, and to the mayor's administration for all you do, and especially for your partnership. Thank you. All right, one quick note from me. Please scan the QR code at your table place setting to view the digital program where you'll learn all about our incredible sponsors and stay connected with the Bethlehem Chamber of Commerce. Quick thank you to Fred and Ryan from Working Dog Press for all the printing and for the gift boxes. All right, we have a jam-packed program this morning, so let's keep it moving. Please welcome a leader who has helped grow a top 10 chamber in the nation, a champion for our business community, and a familiar voice in both the morning call and on iHeartRadio. Guests, please put your hands together for the president and CEO of your Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce and my boss, Mr. Tony Iannelli.
I think I'll go outside a while and just smile, just taking some clean, fresh air.
Good song. I said, can I have that be my walk-up song? I wanted it so bad. Well, I have to tell you, Mayor, you can turn people out. I'll tell you what. This is, Frank Fasciano just told me it's a record crowd by over 100 people that we've ever had. So isn't that amazing? Unbelievable. Tammy, you're, Mayor, there's a lot of people in this room that love this city, but I don't know any more than Tammy. Tammy, thank you for what you do, and Ty and Evelyn, the whole crowd. Jessica, thank you for putting this together. I have some intros to do, and I'm going to do them right now. I don't care what you say. All right, here we go. Let's start with the state representative who's really spent his life working hard for this community, Steve Samuelson. Thank you, Steve. I saw him. Steve. Best hair I've ever seen, by the way, Steve, by a long shot. Yesterday, I was at the Lehigh Valley Partnership, and this person I'm going to introduce was there, and she did an amazing job. Couldn't believe it. I could believe it, but I couldn't believe it. It was much better than I ever dreamed. Tara Zarinsky, where are you, Tara? You're just amazing. Thank you for being here. There she is. Thank you, Tara. From Bethlehem City Council, Rachel Leone, Justin Amanin, and Hillary Kwiatek. Thank you for being here. George Yazzo, the controller, is with us. Thank you, George. Kathy Fox, the treasurer. Thank you. From the school board, Rachel Levy, Winston Alonzi, Sheila White, and I want to make a very special one. This guy is a great guy, and he spent his whole life committed to this community and its education, and he's retiring. Where's Dr. Jack Silva? Where are you, Jack? Thank you for being here. Thank you, Jack, very much. From Easton City Council, Frank Pinnabone and Crystal Rose, thank you. I like to not forget people that do great work, and I want to say hello to the former mayor, John Callahan. Thank you, Johnny Cal, for being here. The chamber chair, who's right in front of me right there with a beautiful suit. Lori Hackett, thank you. Great chair, thank you. The vice chair, Brett Ludlow, is with us. And our past chairs, Ann Baum right there, and Dorota Kozak, thank you. While I'm at it, we have a couple of board members. I want to make sure I say hello and thank you to them. Rich Levy, Murtaza Jaffer, Tom Stout, and Becky Bradley. Thank you. And I was thinking as I was walking up, this is really a city and a community of number ones. Of course, the music festival is number one in the nation. And Cassie, thank you for that. And Kurt, the number one stadium. And Kelly, the number one hotel. A lot of number ones in this valley, in this city. It's an amazing city. I always say we're not sure. We're pretty sure this number that we're the sixth largest chamber in the country. And I always say there's something about chanting, "We're number 6," that isn't quite as impressive as "We're number 1." But anyway, I saved this last intro for last because these people are so important to me and they're incredible. And that is, I love our mayors and I love what they do. And being a mayor, first of all, you got thousands of employees, a huge budget, and doing great things. You see, look, we're standing in something that's a great thing and a great community. But also, you can be in the press and things can go out of control from time to time. And not much with these guys, but I have so much respect for our mayors, and I want to introduce them all together. I first want to start with my friend, Matt Turk. Thank you, Mayor Matt Turk from Allentown. My friend Salvatore Panto from Easton. And of course, Willie Reynolds. Mayor, I want to close by saying that we say we're as much a chamber of communities as a chamber of commerce. And not only are we a business organization, but we want to lift up communities. And I can tell you, we love being on this main street. We love, by the way, Angela, thank you for the great work you did with the chamber for so many years. Thank you, Angie. But we're with you every step of the way, Mayor. You're doing an amazing job. You have an amazing city, amazing 2 downtowns. It's incredible. We love working with all of you and enjoy the show. Thank you.
Please welcome for this morning's invocation, Chaplain Officer for the Bethlehem Police Department, Reverend James J. Joniak.
Please stand as you're able. Let us pray. Gracious God, thank you for the chance to come together as a city. May our humble leader be filled with your wisdom, guide his words today and actions always. May he and all of our leaders be filled with your truth and justice. And through his and their tireless efforts, may peace and prosperity flow through this city and better every life within it. In your name we pray. Amen.
Next to the stage, please welcome the Chair of the Bethlehem Chamber of Commerce and the Associate Vice President of Culture and Community Building for the United Way of the Greater Lehigh Valley, Marcy Martinez Howie.
Good morning. Good morning. It's truly my honor to introduce someone who believes in the city and in all of us who call Bethlehem home. Some leaders talk about vision, but Mayor J. William Reynolds has a twist that I love. I don't believe in your vision till I see you have a mission. It seems every week there is another announcement where the mayor's team has been awarded another grant, completed another project, and always kept another promise. I love how he and his administration do their work with energy, intention, a genuine care for neighborhood, and an honesty that pulls no punches. He has always believed in the potential of people and that all of us have a responsibility that extends far beyond ourselves. From jobs to housing to parks, the mayor and his team just do not rest. Bethlehem continues to rack up accomplishments, including year after year being named one of the top 100 places to live in America. The mayor's accomplishments keep coming too. He was recently named the president of the Municipal League and is traveling to Harrisburg next week to accept Governor Shapiro's award for outstanding service in local government. We're incredibly fortunate to have a leader who not only sees what Bethlehem can be, but also what we can be as people and what we can accomplish when we come together and not care about who gets the credit. Please join me in welcoming your mayor, Mayor J. William Reynolds.
Thank you, Marcy, and it's wonderful to be here with all of you. This year, we're celebrating 250 years in America, and it's our anniversary. And we thought it would be good to look back at where we have come from, where we are going, and who deserves the credit. And that, of course, is many of you. Because what we are in 2026 is not what we were 30 years ago. I think we all know that. But what we've been able to do by coming together is get through a difficult time in our city and create a new future, not just for us, but for everybody. But that story is not an easy one, and the story of America is never perfect, and it's never complete. And we're going to talk today about both where we were, where we are, and where we are going. And as always, we have many people to share their stories. But I do want to start by taking a look back at where we were 30 years ago and where we are now. And we're doing a lot of comparing data from 25 years ago towards now because I know that a lot of people, including myself, were not at the State of the City 25 years ago. And Mayor Cunningham could not be here today, but I often talk about how different the questions were that he was trying to answer when he had this job. And we start with that word, that idea of job, that idea of jobs here in Bethlehem and across America. And that promise that's always been is like, if you get a job, things will work out and you will be able to take care of your family and achieve that idea of the American dream. If you take a look at our numbers here, and this just goes back about 20 years, in this growth between 2008 and 2024, we saw job increases in the city of Bethlehem from 28,000 to over 41,000. I don't need to share that number with you because those are jobs within your companies across the city. And on behalf of our community, I want to say thank you because the job growth that we have seen in the city of Bethlehem has allowed for everything else. It's allowed us to pave our roads, to pay our police officers, to build our parks. And the job growth we have seen has come together when we have the public sector and the private sector joining and thinking, where can we take advantage of this opportunity? And what you see by comparing where we were 25 years ago towards now is incredible growth in the city's household median income. As you can see there in 2000, the household median income was a little under 36,000. Now it's a little bit over 75,000. And adjusted for inflation, the average household has almost $8,500 more than they did 25 years ago. And those are impressive numbers. And that means a lot for a lot of families. And if you look even deeper, and I encourage anybody, if they really want to take a look at all of the census data from 25 years ago towards now. I know Dr. Silver's here in the school districts. We've increased the amount of people in the city of Bethlehem that have a high school diploma. We've increased the amount of people in the city of Bethlehem who have a college diploma. And we've really made incredible progress. And it starts with this idea that we've always understood that the American dream centers on this idea that we need to be able to create economic opportunity for people. And if you take a look here at this is the real estate valuations in the city of Bethlehem from 30 years ago towards now. It goes back to 1994 before Bethlehem Steel shut down. And you can see how it takes this huge dip in 97 and 98 and then starts to climb back up. And I am old enough now to remember when Mayor Callahan was given these, wherever he's at, where he was given these slides and talking about how we were on our way back up. And if you're wondering why the data stops right around 2009, 2010, is because it's hard to be able to compare valuations from 2026 to 2009 when, sorry, Tara, it's not your responsibility, Northampton County hasn't done a reassessment in 32 years. But that's a conversation for a different time. But it is clear that property values in the city of Bethlehem have just continued to rise. And they've continued to rise because we have the safest city in Pennsylvania, the city that has more economic opportunity than anywhere else. And those numbers just keep going up. So we've been able to create jobs, which has been able to put more money in people's pockets in truly a remarkable story. And if you take a look at some of the things that the city used to have to do that we don't have to do now, it's like night and day. Look at some of the decisions that the city had no choice but to do 30, 40 years ago. Landfill borrowings, pension borrowings, more pension borrowings. And then my favorite, which I discovered, was that our high number for water authority debt in the year 2000 was $242 million. That number is now down to $53 million. These numbers have been accomplished, and they might seem dry to you or something very much in the weeds. We wouldn't be able to do the things that we can do now in the city of Bethlehem if we did not move past the systemic financial troubles that we had with the closing of Bethlehem Steel. And I'm always the first person to thank Mayor Smith and Mayor Cunningham and Mayor Callahan and Mayor Donchez for all of the incredible work they did that allowed us this opportunity. And I do want to give them a big round of applause. Because absent their work, working with so many people in the private sector, we would not be where we are here today. And our 2026 financial picture is really unmatched by any mid-sized city, not just in Pennsylvania, but across America. We took a pension fund that used to have to borrow $20, $30 million to be able to make our obligations, and now it is 92, 93% funded. We have the highest bond rating of any city, any of the top 10 cities in Pennsylvania with AA- stable. Our earned income tax is the only city among the top 10 population that is at 1%. We have not had to do any capital borrowing since 2019, and now we're doing what everybody wants to be able to do, and that's invest in your capital needs with cash. You're not relying on borrowings. If grants come along, that's great. But we are in a financial position where I'm able to make promises and keep promises in ways that mayors couldn't do 20, 30 years ago, not through any fault of their own, but because we didn't have the financial growth and the revitalization that we have seen, a story that we have heard many, many times. And you can see here that 11, 12 years ago, we had about $171 million in debt. We have paid that off in an incredible fashion, and we're down to about $78 million in debt, which, as you're going to see, is allowing us to make these improvements. And you can also see that there was a time where this isn't just this idea that, we've been able to do this and now we can spend more money and things like that. If you take a look at where the city was and how we kept those obligations, like over the past 40, 50 years, you can see that we used to have to raise property taxes much more than we do now. And if you look at the 90s and the 2000s, over the past 7 years, we've had 2 property tax increases, and it's been a grand total of 1.1%. During this time period, those numbers, and this is also a credit to Mayor Callahan and Mayor Donchez, Mayor Cunningham, those property tax increases have always been below whatever inflation has been. So the city has always done more with less. But it's important that we look at what's happened over 30 years to allow us to understand where we are now, which is this incredible place of revitalization. But as we think about the American dream, as we think about America, we think about where does that leave us now? And by us, I don't just mean the 400 plus people that are here today, but I mean the 80,000 people that live in the city of Bethlehem and the people that are coming after us and our kids. And as we like to say, the younger versions of ourselves. Now, I'm going to call up Laura Collins, our Director of Community Economic Development, in just a minute, but we do want to show you just a short video about 2 of our City of Bethlehem business owners that are accomplishing the American dream.
My name is Abdul. I'm the owner of Sizzling Bites here in Bethlehem, PA, Southside.
My name is Brianna Lasco, and I'm the owner of Lovely by Brianna in downtown Bethlehem on Main Street. My daughter came home and said, my friend at school's brother owns Sizzling Bites. I was like, no way, I love it there.
And now we meet each other.
And now here we are.
Nice to meet you. Yep.
So Abdul, tell me, you own Sizzling Bites here in Bethlehem?
4 years ago, we moved out to New York, actually lived in Queens for a year, worked, and I was going to high school, worked in the same kind of place, but a little bit different environment out there. It was in New York, Fresh Meadows. The reason I worked there was, I was 16, but the reason I wanted to work there was to learn and build my own thing one day. And after a year living in New York, we moved out to PA, Bethlehem. The first location which we opened was Flaming Hot in Union Boulevard with my uncle. And we started there from his investments and working there and getting my partner. My plan was, after a year we opened there, my goal was to open something for myself. And that's what we did in Southside Bethlehem, Sizzling Bites. And it's been 2 years now. It's going to be 2 years in May 15.
I've always loved home decor. So my store is a little home decor boutique in downtown Bethlehem. And it's based on coastal, country, and cozy, all the things that I love. And I just kind of put it all together. The coastal is because I love the beach, and my dream was always to have a little shop on the beach, which I still think I'm going to do one day. The country part, we lived in Texas for about 5 years, so I had to bring some of that with me because that's a part of me now. And then the cozy, I just love pillows and blankets, and I love home, and I love everything that makes a cozy home. I was actually a teacher for the past 20 years. I knew that I could not do it for another 20 years, so I gave my teaching resignation, and within a couple days, I'd say, this space opened up that I'm in now. So I was the first one to see it. It was a Sunday morning, and I said, okay, I'm gonna take it, and then I figured out what I was gonna do. I didn't even have like a store name or anything, so.
The reason this location is different is we started from here, and the community is showing love every day. And all the other locations, because we started from here, and in every other location we mentioned Bethlehem's name, that's the place we started. And Bethlehem especially, I moved to Makanji, but I still want to move back to Bethlehem one day back as soon as I can. Bethlehem is a different kind of love for me.
Well, I grew up in the city of Bethlehem, so we've always loved downtown, and like even like when I was younger, I would always spend like a lot of time downtown, like the Lollipop Tree. There's always like so many core memories that like happen downtown. So when we were in Texas and we knew we were moving home, I said, I really think this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to own my business in Bethlehem. So it was just kind of like a full circle moment, and I was in my hometown, and I always loved it. And now actually being there and being a part of downtown, I just love it even more. Like the friendships that I've made just from people coming into the store, like I didn't expect any of that. Now I have like returning customers, and it's a very like small family knit community. And then of course with the holidays and everything else, you just get like thousands of new people and new faces. Yeah. So it's just like a really, really fun place to be.
Basically a dream come true for you.
Yes, yeah. It really is.
Nice to meet you.
It was so nice to meet you.
Her daughter knows my sister, and my sister knows her daughter. Now we met, so we know each other.
What a way to start the morning. I think we have Brianna and Abdul here this morning, so I just want to say congratulations and thank you for all that you bring to Bethlehem. I have the privilege of talking this morning, as I have at the last 4 State of the City events, about Bethlehem's economic strength. The good news is that I don't have to say much. You can see it for yourself. You can see the new construction coming out of the ground, new businesses opening, festivals thriving, and neighborhoods evolving. If you drove here this morning, for example, and you took the Hill to Hill Bridge and came down 3rd Street, you drove by, I believe, at least 6 active construction sites. You saw cranes and construction vehicles that are visible representations of the continued momentum that we have here in Bethlehem. And it's really not just construction, it is investment, and it is a confidence in the future of Bethlehem. So the numbers as well back up what you see as you're driving through the city. Following on the mayor's theme of looking back over the past several decades, we measure investment in the city in a number of ways, one of them being through construction permits that are issued and the value of the construction associated with those permits. In the year 2000, we issued about 1,100 permits. Last year, we issued 4,400 permits. The value of construction in 2000 was $88 million. And last year, in 1 year alone, it was $250 million worth of investment in the city of Bethlehem. That is not just long-term growth, it is recent momentum as well. If you look just over the last 5 years, since 2020, that would be 5 years, permits have risen steadily by about 50% in that time period. That's construction activity in areas and construction of all sizes. As the mayor mentioned, that construction increase also matches what we're seeing with jobs. Over 10,000 new jobs since the year 2000. And a really important part of that story is how the jobs have changed. And that's not news to everyone here, as you all are the ones who are providing these jobs in a lot of instances. But we've seen an increase since 2000 by 70% in jobs in management, business, the arts, and the sciences. Service industries have grown, and production and transportation continue to expand as well. And as many of you know, the industries that our jobs are in are changing as well. Healthcare and education, super strong. Professional and technical sectors growing. Arts, entertainment, and food service continuing to expand. But behind these construction numbers, the 4,400 permits and the $264 million in investment last year, behind those numbers are real opportunities, real pathways to the American dream. You see it, for example, in major manufacturers, companies like Phoenix Tube and Bosch Rexroth, who choose Bethlehem as a place to grow. That means good paying jobs for families and skilled workers. You see it in our downtowns. One of those construction sites you passed on the way here was ArtsQuest Creative Factory, powered by PPL. That is more than just development. It is expanding a decades-old dream of bringing more music and art to our community, giving kids of all backgrounds opportunity to have the highest class arts programming and education right here in Bethlehem. Those permit numbers also reflect new housing opportunities, whether it's new construction or infill development or adaptive reuse. That's expanding options for people to live in a very tight market. And as we saw in the video, a lot of those permits are about our businesses, many of them locally owned small businesses. Last year, we issued 150 new business permits, which are for either new businesses, relocations, or expansions. And those 150 new businesses represent things that make our community very special. Barbershops, salons, cafes, coffee shops, yoga studios, a recording studio, a vintage shop, small retailers, and all the restaurants that make our neighborhoods come to life. These are the dreamers who make up the fabric of Bethlehem. But we also know that this is not an easy moment. Global uncertainty, affordability pressures, changing consumer habits where people just seem to want to gather less and spend less time together, and new technology like AI are challenging us all to think very differently. It is not unique to Bethlehem, but what can be unique is how we respond. At the city, last year we administered over $9 million in funding through the KIZ, the CRIZ, state and federal dollars for economic development. That's supporting entrepreneurship, revitalization, our downtowns, and through our newer program, Bedco's Big Business Improvement Grant, we awarded small grants to dozens of Bethlehem businesses to help with upgrades, equipment, interior improvements, and marketing. Sometimes we think that these small practical investments make the biggest difference. But what makes Bethlehem resilient isn't just programs or new buildings. It is, and always has been, our people and our commitment to building not just as individuals, but as a community. We have built strong collaborations, as this room represents, for many decades. Business leaders, educators, institutions, government, and nonprofits, and these partnerships matter quite a bit to us. Because the American dream in Bethlehem has never been about individual success, it has always been about community. Our economic achievement has been unparalleled, but as the mayor and my friend Sarah Satullo will talk about, our economic revitalization is not solving every problem for every person today. It may have been true at one point, as the mayor said, that if we could get people good paying jobs, everything else would fall into place, maybe. But today there are new challenges. Solving those challenges will require us to work together, not just for economic development as we have traditionally described it, but also in new and creative ways to make sure the American dream is not out of reach for the next generation of our community. And with that, I will turn things back over to Mayor Reynolds.
Thank you, Laura. And it is truly a remarkable time to be in the city of Bethlehem. We take a look at our economic revitalization, what it has meant for our community. And that's a story we've told a lot. The challenge that we have as a city is the idea that economic development and revitalization has not solved every problem. And in many ways, some of our problems have gotten worse. I showed you before that median income growth from 2000 to 2024. But if you also take a look at what the median housing cost was in 2000 versus what it is now, it's almost tripled. Now, if you were buying your first home in 2000, that was great. And if that was the last thing you ever worried about, also great. But that's not what we are here in the city of Bethlehem. It's not just about us, and we don't think about shutting doors after we've walked through them. But this is a challenge. And when you're wondering why people are angry, when you wonder why people are exhausted, it's because we have told them here in America that if you do what you're supposed to do and you get a job, things are going to work out. And now they're commuting an hour, or they're paying 50% of their salary to live in their apartment. And they're not being able to save up enough money to buy their own home. or start a family. And they don't know what to make of that. They don't know what to make of the idea that the American dream that we have sold is this idea that if you listen to your teachers, if you listen to your parents, if you get a good job, things are going to take care of themselves. And that's not always true. And if you take a look at our poverty rate between 2000 and 2024, if you just looked at that top line number, it's decreased, which is impressive for any city. There are a few less people now that would qualify as being impoverished than they did 25 years ago. But once you start digging down into it, people under 18, it's actually increased for, from 21% to 24%. And it's increased for people over 65 from about 9% to 14%. So essentially, if you're able to work between 18 and 64, things are okay. But it's not okay for people that are 7, 8, 9, 12 years old. And those may be your kids, but they're probably not. There are probably other kids that may or may not be in your kids' class that you may or may not know their story of. And for us, that's unacceptable. That somehow we can have so much and yet not refocus. I only have one child, he's 3 years old, but I learned from my mom that like every month, it might change the reason why you're up at night, but you're still up at night. You still have trouble sleeping. And I think about that as I've sat through so many of these state of the cities and I've watched our city over the last 30 years. There was a time when we were worried about making pension payments or keeping the lights on or paving a road. And now it's just a different worry about whether or not people have that same opportunity for the American dream. And I've heard many people eloquently on this stage and other stages in the Lehigh Valley talk about how our success is this nonpartisan, bipartisan idea that you can come together. But I got to tell you something. When you're talking about jobs, nobody's against that. When you're talking about economic development and this idea, we all share that same interest, that we need more economic development to be able to pave our roads and pay our police and build our parks. That's a message that 100% of people are in on. Reducing these numbers, in many ways, is going to be more difficult because it's going to require us, and we're going to talk about this, and I have hope for this because I know the people of Bethlehem. It's going to require us to change our identity, change the way we think about success, self-reflect on what makes people happy, how scared we are of other people moving into our neighborhood, or how scared we are of maybe having 4 more people move into your neighborhood a mile away from you. If we're going to solve these numbers and be true to the American dream and be true to the opportunities that so many of us have been given, offered, worked hard for, we have to change the way we think. And the good news is that there have never been more people in the city of Bethlehem who are willing to do that than right now. Every year, this crowd grows. Every year, we have public meetings that are about how do we do more? How do we not just talk about equity, but how do we implement it? The school district has done that. The city's doing that. Our nonprofits do it. So many of you do that. And you don't just worry about how do you create jobs, but how do you create opportunity for people to be able to achieve what you've been able to achieve in life. And it's a challenge, but we are excited for the challenge, and we're going to talk about how we're going to get there together. And with that being said, I want to bring up my great friend and one of the hardest working people I know, our Deputy Director of Community Development, Sarah Satullo.
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor Reynolds. Here in Bethlehem, we are proud to be at the forefront of housing innovation in the Lehigh Valley and across Pennsylvania. We were first in the Valley to develop a housing action plan in 2023, years ahead of the Commonwealth. We are grateful to Governor Shapiro for now recognizing housing as essential infrastructure, since we can't keep growing if our state remains near the nation's bottom of housing production. The housing affordability crisis may be newer to Pennsylvania, and the cogs of government can be slow, but our community's pain is real and the need is immediate. We cannot keep doing things the same way. So in Bethlehem, we are actively searching for strategies to cut red tape, boost housing production, and bring relief to our community. Bethlehem has always punched above its weight. The Steel of Bethlehem built the Golden Gate Bridge. We built one of the nation's first public housing authorities to create workforce housing to fuel the war effort. Many of our urban core neighborhoods developed in response to waves of immigration to support production at the steel. And after World War II, our suburban North developed rapidly to meet the housing demands created by the GI Bill and affordable mortgages. This helped drive one of the greatest expansions of home ownership in American history, a rate that remained constant until the Great Recession. We know the American dream has never been equally available to all Americans, but that dream of home ownership, upward mobility, and creating generational wealth for your children has never felt more out of reach for many. The typical age of a first-time homebuyer hit a record high of 40 last year. 40. Let that sink in. This is a real-world consequence of a housing market starved for enough affordable inventory. We are playing a massive game of musical chairs, and here in the Lehigh Valley, we are short 9,000 chairs. The Lehigh Valley Planning Commission's new housing attainability strategy is a key step in tackling this regional deficit. If we keep doing things the same way, our children will not be able to come back to Bethlehem after college and afford homes where they grew up. They won't be able to graduate and teach in Bethlehem schools or work as nurses and doctors in our health systems. This is already happening. Hundreds of residents completed our housing options survey in the fall, and a resounding 92% felt it was very or somewhat important that we expand housing options across the city. Residents reported widespread housing stress and a housing market where available choices did not meet household needs. At City Hall, we know there is no single solution. We must work on many fronts all at once. We are investing in partnerships that keep people housed. Our Housing Stability Collaborative connects residents at the first sign of housing instability with legal support, tenant advocacy, housing navigation, and rental assistance through a partnership with New Bethany, Inc., North Penn Legal Services, and Community Action Development Bethlehem. Because it is far more effective and far less costly to prevent homelessness than to respond to it. At the same time, we are pushing forward projects that will bring hundreds of new affordable units into the city. 2 years ago, we announced Lehigh Valley Industrial Park's extremely generous $4.5 million land donation to the Gateway on 4th, 120-unit mixed income development. In October, project developer Penrose was awarded $16 million of federal tax credits. This will allow Penrose to break ground on the first 60 units by the end of this year. This fall, we finished a choice neighborhood plan that would bring 465 mixed income units to Pembroke. And on a smaller scale, construction is about to start in West Bethlehem on the Alley House pilot, our first accessory dwelling unit. This revival of a Bethlehem historic housing type will be rented affordably for 20 years. On the south side, CADB is partnering with Cathedral Church of the Nativity to rehab 2 blighted properties into 6 affordable units. These projects could not happen without state and federal grants because of a hard truth. Our affordable housing finance system is broken. Affordable housing, paradoxically, is the most expensive and complex housing to build in America. Affordable housing costs 30 to 40% more a unit than a market rate unit. The system relies heavily on federal tax credits, which come with long timelines and significant red tape. That is why Bethlehem is exploring new tools, like a revolving loan fund for mixed income housing, making the math work for developers to include affordable units without relying on 7 layers of government subsidy. This model is working in other parts of the country, and we are working to bring it here. We are the first in the state to explore the feasibility of this model, and now we need more local communities at the table as Lehigh County Executive Josh Siegel explores a valley-wide fund. Still, this is not a challenge Bethlehem can solve alone. If America is serious about tackling this crisis head-on, we need large-scale government investment in housing, just as we did after World War II. Housing must be treated as essential infrastructure and a human right. Meeting this moment will require all of us. It may mean change. It may mean compromise. It may mean personal sacrifice for the greater good of our city. We cannot be satisfied if the people sitting in this room still can afford the American dream, yet younger generations can't even afford to move here. Complacency means we have abandoned the ideals that Bethlehem was built upon. Bethlehem is my adopted home because of our rich communal fabric, our ingrained instinct to help our neighbors and lift one another up in celebration at the Liberty Freedom Game, at Music Fest. But most importantly, we do step up to be the light in our neighbor's darkest hour, 365 days a year, not just on Luminaria night. That darkest hour is here for many of our neighbors already. Our team at Bethlehem City Hall invites you to join us in our work to keep the American dream accessible to all. Instead of fighting new housing in your neighborhood, you can advocate for it. Volunteer or donate to our amazing nonprofit partners. There are so many ways to help. You just need to take that first step off the sidelines. This work of making sure every person in our community has enough and is cared for, as you will see in the next video clip, has deep roots in our founding history as Moravian settlement, and that thread has carried into our present.
Hi, I'm the Reverend Janelle Rice. I serve as senior pastor at Central Moravian Church.
Hi, my name is Audia Ortiz. I'm a co-chair for the Bethlehem Patia Sister Cities.
Having the honor of being inscribed as part of the Transnational World Heritage Site has meant not only that our authentic and historic buildings are recognized and preserved, but also our living heritage and our community values. Values like caring for each other, inclusion of all, equality, education, but simply that value that's evidenced in the historic buildings of Bethlehem, like the widow's house, the single sister's house, houses that particularly preserved and made sure that individuals would have enough to take care of themselves. It was a hallmark of the early Moravian community, and I like to think it's still a hallmark of our community today in Bethlehem, of making sure that every single person here has enough and is well taken care of.
I believe that unity in a culture is one of the basics of everyone feeling included. And with the World Heritage, it was like the topping of the ice cream, like we say, because Bethlehem Patillas was based on the idea that we were going to celebrate our Puerto Rican culture. But at the same time, when we went and saw all around us, our Puerto Rican culture is celebrated when we also join in celebrating other cultures. Here in Bethlehem, it's such a unique place. It just embraces so many cultures. And with the sister cities, not only Patillas being one of them, others being Italy, Slovenia, Greece, Germany, and Japan, I believe that we just have to include people in whatever celebration we have. And that's why when we celebrated Bethlehem Patillas, we just wasn't thinking only celebrating for us, but letting other people know who we are and welcoming them to our culture. I think that when we celebrate each other, we become more aware of our similarities than our differences. And what I hope is that we'll be able to be celebrating and respecting each other's culture and everything that us as human beings bring to this city. So what I hope is that we are able to celebrate each one of us in every way that we can.
I think that dovetails very well into the Moravian heritage of really appreciating the individual. Amidst community houses, there was definitely the respect and the unique abilities for each individual to remain who they wanted to be. If you wanted to be a single sister your whole life, you had the opportunity in Bethlehem to be a single sister your whole life. And I pray that that kind of unique celebration of the individual extends to the greater community and continues to remind us of the gifts, the talents, and again, the protection that we need to extend to all of the residents of Bethlehem and making them feel welcome and making sure everyone has enough to be cared for and respected in the city.
You know, we're just people, you know, coming from different parts of the world, but joining in this community, a global community like Bethlehem.
Thank you, Aria and Janelle, for being so eloquent about what it is that we need to do, which is bring people together to think of what it is that connects us and think that all of our fates are tied to each other as they've always been over the 250 years of our country. This idea that to solve the challenges that Sarah talked about, we need to feel as if we're connected to each other, that we feel that we are responsible to each other, and that our interest in an issue doesn't end when our self-interest in that issue ends. It continues. And we're very intentional about thinking about that in everything we do. Last week, we announced our 40 and 10 plan, where we are going to make investments in all 40 of our parks over the next 10 years, which is a remarkable accomplishment. But at the center of that is not just about this idea that once upon a time I ran into a couple of people that are like, when are you going to fix my park? Like, that's not what fixing parks are about. It's not about investing in public spaces is the same reason why you invest in public schools. It's the same reason why you invest in things that we share, because they are for everyone. When you go to any of our parks, you don't walk onto the Greenway and get charged money. You don't walk onto Sand Island and get charged money. They are for everybody, no matter if you've been here for a week or you've been here for 50 years. They're a place for us to share, and they're a place for us to build connections and build empathy with each other. Because maybe you're not worried about finding a house, but I'll tell you what, the person down the street might be. They might be renting month to month. Maybe their rent went up $500 and they have to go find a different place to live. And they're telling you a story about how they came here from somewhere else and they're looking for stability. They love Bethlehem. They love our schools and they want to stay here. And what we're trying to do by investing in parks is create this shared and common identity. Sarah mentioned two of those things that create that shared identity for us. Liberty Freedom Games, Music Fest. It's hard to go to those and not look at everybody else and think that the experience that we're having together is only possible because there are other people there. If you were the only person walking down Main Street during Music Fest, it wouldn't be the same. If you were the only person watching Liberty and Freedom, it wouldn't be the same. It's the history. It's the connection. It's the idea that we have this thing in common. And that's why we take parks so seriously. And our park plan, which, as I said, we released, you can learn about it on We Build Bethlehem. You can check out that QR code. We're breaking our parks down into 3 different areas. We have our 4 regional parks, Sand Island, Saucon Park, Ilex Mill, Monocacy Way, and the Rose Garden in each one of our 4 different regions. And then we have what we're calling our anchor parks, these medium-sized, strong focus on play and sports and recreation and things like that. And then we have our community parks. And the idea is that we're putting together a plan about how we're going to necessarily make these improvements. Because if you take a look at parks and the investment in parks over the 20th century, it's like parks used to be the thing. You look at how New York City and all these different places invested in parks in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. And then for a variety of reasons, some having to do with race, some having to do with industrialization, some having to do with people moving out of the cities with money, like parks and public spaces didn't become the same thing that they used to be. You weren't building Central Park in 1970 or 1980 or 1990. But now we are. We are bringing people together. And so how are we going to do this? We're going to commit to a goal. I think people sometimes are afraid to commit to a goal. But like we can say we're going to invest in these 40 parks. And if that means that we have to spend money that's currently on our budget, great. If that means we might need to raise taxes to do it, then great. We are going to do whatever we can to be able to invest in our parks and keep those promises. Because the biggest problem right now with people in the government is they don't believe the government can keep their word. And that's not just the Democrats or the Republicans or the independents or whatever that are currently running the government. There's a lot of different things at play there, and you need to be able to plan well. And then a term that I came up with is you want to build what's called trust momentum. Marcy talked about how every week it seems like we're announcing another grant, we're completing another project. Once people know that your word is good, once they know that you're keeping your promises, they're all in. And that's what all of you guys do year after year after year across the Lehigh Valley, is when something is working, you're willing to invest. And one of the things that we spend a lot of our time on is thinking about how can we keep those promises even quicker. And I promise this is the most in the weeds it gets, but it's very important. Usually when you get grants, it takes a while. And you can't see exactly all the different steps, but you know that they're there. You have to apply for the grant, you have to check with Penn, you gotta check with the state, you gotta check with the federal government. So you tell somebody, hey, look, we got this grant in September, we're gonna rebuild your park. How long is it gonna take? I don't know. It's gonna take a while. Why? Well, we gotta do a right away, survey over there, and then we gotta do this. All of those things slow down your confidence in your ability that when somebody says that it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. So what we've been able to do over this 30 years, working as far as improving our city budget and being willing to raise taxes 1.4% every 3 years, has allowed us the opportunity to be able to spend cash, money that's in the city budget, in our parks in a way that almost nobody is able to do. And I know Hillary and Justin and Rachel are here, and they were 3 of the people in city council that voted in December to transfer our first down payment on our parks plan of about $5 million into our fund to be able to make these investments. And I really want to give them a big round of applause. Because they could have done what people do sometimes, and they could have said like, well, am I going to get credit for this? Or maybe we can cut taxes and make sure you get $2.74 more in your pocket, and then I can brag about this. But they were looking at the long term. They were looking at what this means. So what we're able to do now, and what we did last week, was announce our first series of parks that we're going to complete by the end of 2027. So what our plan is every year, we're going to be able to announce our new parks for the following year in the spring or in February. So basically, we're going to say, these are the parks we're working on over the next 18, 20 months, so then we can complete them by the end of next year. And the first ones that we announced last week were that by the end of next year, we're going to have redone Clearview in the west side, Madison Park in the south side, Bernie Fritz in the north side, and we're launching a new master plan for Sand Island. And what we're going to do is we're going to reach out and we're going to listen about what it is that people are looking for within their parks. And then we want them to come, and we want them to see that these things are getting done and have pride. That even if it's not your park, or even if it's not the one that's in your neighborhood, it's still creating a public space for people to be able to come and share and come together, which is what we need. Because a big problem we have in this country is that we don't feel like we're connected to each other because we don't share things. We share about the same internet provider, and that's about it. We share the same type of iPhone, and that's about it. We share the same limitations on what the world means when you're only thinking about yourself. And what you need to do to be able to make progress on all these different issues is bring people together and have these shared experiences. And it starts in City Hall. One of the projects that we're also working on, I'm going to welcome up my great friends, Marcy from the United Way and Trish from the YMCA to be able to come up to talk here with us about our community center here in South Bethlehem. We announced this project a couple years ago, and we went through some different ideas, community planning, things like that. But responding to this need that we want to be able to create spaces where people can share experiences. And one of the things that people have been talking about for a long time was this idea that there wasn't a place for people to go in South Bethlehem. So we launched this process, and just a couple of days ago, we talked about the next stage of it and the fact that we brought on 2 great partners, the United Way and the YMCA, to be able to help us to take this project to the next level, to be able to help us do the fundraising. And I do want to welcome up Marcy and Trish now to make a few comments about their involvement.
Good morning, everyone. We are so honored to serve with the City of Bethlehem and the Y in this remarkable first of its kind partnership in probably a century.
to be able to come together between our two organizations with the city and to help build and create the community center on the south side of Bethlehem. We joined so many partners that have done such incredible work on the south side, and so we're honored to be working with all of you. This project and this partnership is aligned with United Way's vision, a community where every person belongs and every person thrives. This center is nestled in the heart of the South Side, right at the epicenter of 3 United Way community schools and 1 United Way community hub, because we've made a deep and lasting commitment 20 years to place. And so with that, our commitment to this is to help lead the fundraising effort, to ensuring that the building is done the way that it needs to be, and to help the mayor and the city to keep their promises. This builds on our long-time, decades-long commitment to the South Side, and we invite anyone who shares that commitment to join us. And so I want to turn it over to our good friend, Trish Feinfeld from the YMCA to share a few more remarks. Thank you.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. What a beautiful morning it is to come together. On behalf of River Crossing YMCA, we are just so proud to be part of this partnership. River Crossing YMCA, if you don't know us, proudly serves in Lehigh and Northampton counties. We are also in Bucks County and Hunterdon County, New Jersey. We have hundreds and thousands of lives that we serve each and every day. If I close my eyes right now and I place myself in our Bethlehem branch, I can see children being fed through our feeding program. I can see 2 seniors side by side on a treadmill, one on financial assistance, one not. But together, they have partnership and friendship. Also, our Veterans Pathway Program, which is our donor-funded supported program, which again lifts our veterans through 12 weeks of nutrition and personal training and health and wellness. I say all this because when we were given the opportunity to apply for this RFP, we entered in what was, for me, flow state. So flow state means that, when your energy and your passion and your drive is connected to the purpose, it just fits. And so we are so proud and grateful to be arm in arm with the powerful forces of the United Way and Mayor and his team to bring together a future vision where teens and young adults and seniors can come together under a safe space, form community, decrease isolation, and simply be together. So thank you for this opportunity, and we look forward to serving a bright future ahead.
Thank you, Trish and Marcy. The United Way and the YMCA are 2 of our oldest institutions here in the Lehigh Valley that serve people and care about people. And we're always trying to find ways to get people in the room that share the same goals and motivations and work towards the greater good. And they have an incredible track record of being able to produce results. The city of Bethlehem last year transferred $1 million as a deposit down on the community center. And I do want to thank City Council for that as well, because we are going to make this project a reality. And now that we have the YMCA and the United Way helping us to plan and fundraise, it's going to happen even quicker. And that's a good transition for us in talking about what this work is about. And this idea that, why are we here? Why do we get up in the morning? Who do we do this for? And I've often talked about how I've been the benefit of an incredible community of people that cared, that offered me opportunities, and also the privilege of growing up in a household with 2 professor parents that helped to put me in a direction that allowed for a lot of the success the rest of our lives. But I also remember that not every kid has that opportunity. And one of the things our school district does is give kids opportunities to chase their own dreams. And as we're talking about the American dream, I thought it was important that we have a couple of our students here, Coraline from Thomas Jefferson and Celeste from William Penn. As you're thinking about what this next stage is, why does housing matter? Why does opportunity matter? Why does it matter? Because once upon a time, you were 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 years old, and you had an uncertain future. And you were dreaming and you were hoping, and you were looking at the adults in your lives to make sure that you had those opportunities. So with that being said, put on my teacher hat like the old days. I want to welcome Coraline and Celeste up here to be able to tell you their version of the American dream.
Hi, my name is Caroline, and I'm a fifth grade student from Thomas Jefferson Elementary School. I want to thank Mayor Reynolds for having me here. The community and TJ are helping me and have helped me fulfill my dreams because I learned a lot, like how people aren't the same as me. They have their own cultures, styles, and personalities, but we can all be our true selves. Two of my classmates just made a cultural presentation to teach us about their countries, what food they eat, and what they celebrate. They brought food for us to try too. The community is helping me by bringing in students from Moravian University to TJ to work in classrooms and run events. A special shout out to the America Reads tutor who has helped me in my class this year, Miss Wendy. Has been really helpful throughout the year and taught me to always stay confident and try my best. The TJ helped by putting together after-school programs like Girls on the Run and Fit for Life, which taught me to stay healthy and build more self-esteem. I feel like TJ has helped me learn a lot, like the TJ way to be. That is to be there, be ready, be responsible, be respectful, and to be happy. At TJ, we also get to go on field trips in the community, like Zollner Art Center at the Lehigh University to see plays, and we also get to go in the Cops and Kids Parade. I'm excited to go to Northeast next year to have my own locker, and I get to interact with more people because it's a much bigger school. Being around people who are different from me teaches me about different cultures. For example, my stepdad Geraldo inspired me because he is from Guatemala and speaks Spanish. He is able to create a stable life here. My stepdad inspires me to learn to speak Spanish so I can talk to him and any new students who start at my school. My parents are helping me build my dreams by supporting me creatively and physically. For example, my mother paints with me. This motivates me that I can pursue a creative job. My dad encourages me to achieve or to be active. He takes me swimming and fishing, which exposes me to different hobbies. These experiences give me new perspectives on life. A dream I have to be is a hairstylist. My aunt is a hairstylist and lets me watch her cut the client's hair and dye it. This has inspired me to go beyond what my aunt accomplished and create my own business in Bethlehem. To me, the American dream helps people to improve and inspire themselves in life. My community, aunt, stepdad, parents, and teachers motivate me to chase my dreams. They have shown me that reaching my dreams is possible.
Great job. Great job.
Hello everyone. My name is Celeste Pennock and I'm a fifth grader at William Penn. I am also someone who, like you, lives here in Bethlehem. I think that Bethlehem is amazing. I also think that the American dream is amazing as well. The American dream has affected my family in many great ways. Both of my grandparents were lawyers, and in some cultures that would mean my older brother and father would be one as well. Instead, because of the American dream, they get to choose their own paths based on what they love, and they aren't limited because of their past. My father became a writer and even a science teacher for a couple of years. As long as we're on the generational theme, we can go back to my great-grandfather. His father was poor with 11 children to care for, and all of them slept in 2 rooms. You would think that would doom the rest of his family, but the American dream let his son become, well, as I said before, a lawyer. This applies to women as well. Both my grandmas were stay-at-home parents. Instead of following their paths, my mother trained to become a biologist. Instead, she became a professional face painter as well as a popular YouTuber. What a career change. Finally, we're to my story. Me and my family go on long road trips every year during summer break, including going to Idaho. We were living in Kansas during 2016 to 2020 when COVID-19 hit and we were forced to move in with our grandparents in Idaho Falls. I was 5. After COVID, we searched the U.S. trying to find the perfect place to live. And I kid you not, I had to go to 7 different elementary schools before William Penn. 7! Because of, once again, the American dream, we were able to find the perfect place. Not only is the American dream amazing, but it gives us the ability to change our minds and choose how much to walk. We can do so much with it, and I feel so hopeful knowing I have so much choice in my life. The American dream has brought me, you, and all of us to Bethlehem. Because of the American dream, Bethlehem has a wide diversity of people to interact with and make friends with. We can continue building on the American dream by making people feel welcome here in Bethlehem and making sure everyone around us feels equal and important. To close, I would like to read the main definition of the American dream, popularized in 1931 by James Treslow Adams, that every person has the freedom and opportunity to succeed and attain a better life. I hope everyone enjoyed my thoughts, and I hope that you feel inspired to participate in the legacy of the American dream here in Bethlehem.
I gotta follow that. Oh! There's a saying in show business, the show ain't over till the folk singer sings. And you do have a part in this. The song can go on for 20 minutes. Unless you pick up on the chorus right away. And I also would like to say that Godfrey Daniels is celebrating its 50th anniversary. That's a whole lot of kumbaya. But this is a wonderful song called This Land Is Your Land. You have to excuse me, I have the brain of a 75-year-old folk singer. And he's going to be pissed when he finds it missing. So, do sing along. Here we go. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest water. This land is made for you and me. Oh, so far it's a 25-minute song. I've roamed and rambled. I followed your footsteps in sparkling sand of a diamond desert, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. Here we go. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. You know, Woody Guthrie wrote this song. I found out in the last couple of years, he was hitchhiking his way to get back to New York City to meet with his friend Pete Seeger. And he actually wrote a bunch of this song in Pennsylvania. Pretty good. When the sun came shining and I was strolling
and the wheat fields waving, and the dust clouds rolling. The fog was lifting, a voice was chanting. Here we go. This land was made for you and me. Lean into it. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to New York Island, from Redwood Forest to the spring waters. This land is you and me. Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking that Freedom Highway. Nobody living can ever make me turn back. This land is made for you and me. Here we go. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land is made. All right, home of the truth. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me. Thank you, Bethlehem.
Almost all of my dad's side of the family came from Ireland in the 1860s on his dad's side, on the Collins family side, or like later in the 1890s on my grandmother's side. On my mom's side of the family, mostly from Great Britain and Wales and quite a long time ago, and we haven't really untangled that history as much. And then on my stepdad's side of the family, very, very Italian. But my aunt did do a lot of research and tried to piece together like what happened on my dad's side of the family. We have birth records, we have census data. So the immigrants were actually her grandparents in the 1890s. So I guess that would be my great-great-grandparents. Then my grandfather was born in New York City in 1910. We have a lot of information on him because he was a New York City police officer. So we've got, like, he is like the first generation. Yeah,
Is that him?
Yeah, that's him right here. This is Andrew Joseph Johnson. We ended up, you can write in to the City of New York Police Department. So we've got his letter that gives his patrolman ID number and where he served in New York City. He served for 31 years.
Wow.
So he himself is not the immigrant, but he is the son and the first person on that side of the family who served as an Irish police officer in New York City. I do know also that my stepdad's side of the family, they're from Italy. I think his grandmother was the first generation that ended up here. Somehow they ended up in Bethlehem. I don't actually know how. I do know that she worked at Lehigh as like a cook for one of the fraternities or like in one of the dorms, and like they called her Nan, and she made like a bunch of like Italian food for all the Lehigh kids like back, I don't know, in the early 1900s. So I think
And they had like house moms that
exactly.
took care of them.
Yep.
My dad grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, as a son of two immigrants, essentially. My grandmother was a war bride. She met my grandfather during World War II in Great Britain. She was in the Royal Air Force, and she ended up emigrating, leaving her whole family behind after she fell in love with him and met him while serving in a very brief period of time. It's pretty wild of what she gave up. The weird thing is that I never met my grandfather, but who he was in the time that he was alive has like shaped my entire life, and it's like why I'm sitting here today in Bethlehem City Hall. Initial family lore was that he was born on the boat from Sicily, though apparently Ellis Island records that one of my dad's friends recently researched has turned out that not to be true. We believe he was born in Cleveland in 1921. So he was technically the first generation. My great aunt's dad was the mayor, and he ran afoul of the mafia, and the whole family ended up leaving. they were very much like political reformers, which is something that my grandfather continued in Cleveland. So he was a union leader. He was actually a typesetter for like newspapers, and he ran for political office several times, was not successful, and actually encountered a lot of racism for being Italian and a lot of kind of accusations that he was mob affiliated, which was rather ironic for them if the whole reason that they were in the US was because they had left to escape the mafia.
My family story is very simple. We're just another family that comes from Puerto Rico. My mom grabbed 6 of her children and brought them all to America. At the beginning, learning the ropes and understanding that not everyone was welcoming at the beginning because, they thought that we were a little different. But at the same time, there was other people that would provide a helping hand. I remember I didn't know any English, and my teacher, Mrs. Gordon, I remember her, she brought a big book because she believed in me, so she brought a big book of Shakespeare. So I didn't know anything about English, and she brought Shakespeare. So I said, whoa. So she said, we're going to practice. And it was an assembly, and before that time, it was years ago, we used to sing in the assemblies, the Coca-Cola song and all those songs. Every assembly she had me reading, and I learned how to read. Because it wasn't, at that time, there was a lot of ESOL programs at that time or any other programs that would teach us. They threw you there and you had to swim. But there were good people and they helped you, and she would always take care of me. And that's one of the things I remember, that even though she was way different than I was, she cared for me. And I just remember that teacher. And that's why when I grew up, I wanted to be a teacher too, because that really resembled what I wanted it to do in the future.
So I've had many different strands of heritage, from the slate quarries in Bangor to workers in the Bethlehem steel plant. Finding the Moravian Church has been a more recent discovery for me, but as part of both a Moravian faith and one that has come in and out of Bethlehem, I feel like I've represented and been part of many different strands of the American dream and the American story.
So my family has been here for generation after generation. Grandmother was full Irish, and she was very, very proud of her Irish heritage. So I feel like that's a big part of me, and we kind of hone in on that, especially, we just celebrated St. Patrick's Day weekend. It always makes me think of her. They actually had a lake house in the Poconos, and all I can remember, when we were younger and we'd walk into there, it would just be like Irish proverbs everywhere, and just like the pictures and the paintings and all the sayings, and I don't know, that kind of what is like a very core memory for me.
So it was 40 years ago, my grandfather, they immigrated here to New York, actually. They lived there in New York. My grandfather owned a coffee truck, which was still, till 3 years ago, it was still in Manhattan. And then my mom and dad married. My dad had business and everything was going good. We lived in Pakistan, then we moved out to Turkey. My mom was actually a citizen here, so that's when my dad planned to move out to US. And then we moved to New York. It was 2021. We moved to Bethlehem, Hanover Township, and my high school was Liberty High School. Great high school, still have a lot of memories from there. Finally, after graduating there, my whole dream was coming true. I was working with my uncle and built out something there. Once we built out, and then I had my dream come true, Sizzling Bites, and now we are here.
As we finish this morning, I want to just give a big round of applause to everybody that joined us here on stage today. My own American story is a combination of Poland and Germany and Ireland, and probably many other places too. And I didn't know, as many of us didn't know my great-grandmother or great-grandparents, but I think of them a lot. Because once upon a time, They were on a boat. They were coming here. And they were coming here nervous, uncertain, scared, hopeful, all those different emotions that hopefully you still feel sometimes. And I think about if we were sitting here today and you looked around at your table, and your table was not the people you work with, but if it was all of your family and your ancestors. And think about your grandmother and your great-grandmother and your great-grandfather, and maybe you knew them, maybe you didn't. But they're here sitting with you. They're not wearing these clothes. They're not thinking about the same things. And you saw them, and they were here not as you might see them in pictures, black and white pictures, or 70 or 80 or 90 years old. But you saw them as young people. You saw them as 7, 17, 21. And they were sitting here, and if you had a chance to talk to them and ask them what they were scared of, what they cared about, I can guarantee you what it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be a parking spot. It wouldn't be marginal tax rates. And it wouldn't be like, is my kid going to bat third on Saturday in the baseball game? And a few of you probably have a story that your great-grandfather swam across the Atlantic Ocean and got a job on the docks and worked 39 hours a day and then went down into his basement in between shifts and invented the internet or something. But I'll tell you what, more of you probably have a story about how his life was changed at PS 129 in Brooklyn. And then he served our country and served in World War II and came back and went to college with a GI Bill. And maybe his kid went to Lehigh or his kid went to Moravian or he bought his first house on Fairview Street. And America helped to lift up your grandfather and give him an opportunity. And that flag didn't stop flying once he had that opportunity and you got an opportunity and your kids got an opportunity and passed along. People in politics talk all the time, Democrats, Republicans, about this idea of the American dream, the message, the message, the message. I just roll my eyes. Because it's not about the message. And the reason why it doesn't stick fundamentally is because people don't follow your message, they follow your mission. It's not about what you say, it's about how you live. And for a long time, this country, the country that's given us so much, has built itself in this idea. It's not about what we say, but it's about what we do. And we are incredibly fortunate here in Bethlehem to have so many people that are doing those things. Our city has seen a financial revitalization like no other. I've been here all 44 years of my life. We are nowhere what we were 20, 30, 40 years ago. There's a sense of optimism around here that there didn't used to be. And every day I drop off Leo at school and I kiss him on the head and I tell him, there are people that care about you. There are people that are going to take care of you. And be a good friend and be kind and don't push people. And I take that drive down Linden Street and I pass Memorial Cemetery where there's so many veterans. And I think about that ceremony on Memorial Day when I see their years and it was 21 or 23 or 25 and I keep going. And I think about Liberty High School where I learned so much and I met so many people and there was a teacher that had a mission flying underneath that flag. And I look across the street where I grew up and I keep going down Linden Street. And on the left, I see Thomas Jefferson where I went to school and there were so many kids that had so many opportunities. And I look over at Friendship Park on the right and I think about how many times I was there playing basketball, meeting people, learning that everybody matters. And I keep going. And the last place I pass before I get to City Hall is Niskey Hill Cemetery where my dad is buried. And I think about the way that he lived his life. And he would want this analogy to end because he hated nostalgia. He thought nostalgia let us off the hook for the stuff we had to do today. It somehow meant that we thought about yesterday and not about today. It was a way for us to avoid having to think about what our responsibilities are. And I think about that every day. I'm not naive. I know not everybody agrees with this message. I get it. I've been being told that for 19 years, as many of you have been, that somehow America is a place with an identity that is not forever changing, and it's not our responsibility to care about other people. But let me tell you something. That's not what people in the city believe. And it's never what they've believed. The story of America is never complete, and the solution to our problems are never easy. They're not the kind that somehow you can just wake up one day and snap your fingers and say, You got it. But you build faith by stripping away the lights and the crowd and everything else and letting people know who you are. And at the end of the day, sometimes that means you work loud and sometimes that means you work quietly. Sometimes you pick the fight today and sometimes you just take notes and plan for a fight on another day. But over the long run, you never compromise on that mission. People ask me all the time, how can we solve, what are the solutions to the housing problem? Why isn't everything working? I said, some of it is working. But when they ask me, what are the solutions to housing? I come right back at them. I say, what makes you happy? How do you define yourself? And they're, of course, like, why is he asking me this question? And I ask a follow-up question. Because if you define yourself by how do I protect my stuff, that I made it, that nobody deserves to live anywhere close to me, that somehow success in America is feeling that I'm better than other people, then I got nothing for you. I can't do anything to unwind that identity. I can't unwind the idea that you feel better when you get somebody's parking spot, or you feel better when somehow you make more money or you add another comma to your salary. I guarantee you that's not what your great-grandfather thought. That's not what our ancestors thought. And I'm going to close with this. When you go to sleep at night, what do you think about? When you wake up in the morning, when you look in the mirror, what are your goals? What are your motivations? Is it I've done it, I've gotten it, or is it something else? And we have people within our school district, our nonprofits everywhere, that are never satisfied, that know that that flag isn't just about them, that they do think about people like Coraline and Celeste, not just kids to smile at and clap for, but that one day they're going to be 25 or 30 and they're going to want a place to live. And we think to ourselves, what can we do to turn back and give back in this country that has given us so much? And the best people I know, they don't spend too much time looking at themselves in the mirror. They don't. Because they think to themselves, what can I go do today? And it doesn't matter if you're young or old, been here a long time or not. One thing in America will never change. When you get a chance, you just got to stand for what you believe in. Thank you.